In this video, we're going to compare recurrence relations and the annuity formula for reducing balance loans. So this question here says that a person has a loan of $25,000, the interest rate 7.2% compounding quarterly, repayments are $800 per quarter, and we need to calculate the balance after 5 years. So in this situation, we would use the recurrence relation. The only time you really use the annuity formula for reducing balance loans is if you're trying to find M. There are some other rare situations, and we'll go through some of those when I do the solutions to every single past external exam question, which is going to be right at the bottom of this playlist. But from what I've seen, 9 times out of 10, whenever you're using the reducing balance loan annuity formula, you're pretty much just required to find the repayment amount, or M, which is how much you're paying off on the loan per compounding period. So for this question here, it's a reducing balance loan because we're not trying to find M. We know that the repayments are 800. So first thing I'm going to do is just find R. Then I've got my recurrence relation. Now, because we are compounding quarterly for 5 years, well, 5 times by 4 is going to be 20. So we're going to have to find a 20 in this case. So obviously I'm going to do A1 first, and then A2, and then A3. And notice I can start using the answer feature, and I can repeat that until I find A20 using the calculator trick, which I've talked about in another video already in this playlist. So once we repeat that process and I keep hitting equals until I get to A20, that's the value that we get. Now I've changed the question here a little bit so that we have to use the annuity formula. So we've got the same start. A person has a loan of $25,000. The interest rate's still 7.2% compounding quarterly. We need to find the quarterly repayments to pay off the loan in 5 years. So because this is a long-term situation, right? Remember that for long-term situations, you're always going to be using one of the annuity formulas. So first thing, let's just go and define our variables. A is 25,000. I is just the interest rate as a decimal per compounding period, which we worked out before, and N is going to be 20. So plugging all of those into the formula, we get this. So what I've got to do here, because I'm trying to find M, right, there's technically a multiplication symbol in between M and the bracket. So when I move that entire large bracket, when I move that over to the other side, the opposite of times is divide, so I'm going to have to divide. So that's going to look like this. So M is going to be equal to all of that. Now, entering this into the calculator can be very problematic, especially if you try to do it all in one go. It's very common to get a math error because there's a lot of brackets, there's a lot of fractions, there's negative indices, there's just a lot going on here. So there's a strategy that I'm about to show you that will reduce the risk of making any error and make your life a lot easier when you're doing these sort of questions. So what you want to do here is you just want to enter this part first, right? If you just enter that part only, ignore everything else for now, just enter that, and then you'll have an answer. Now you want to store that answer in your calculator in the same way that you store your answer when you're doing recurrence relation questions. Now, once you've got that stored in your answer, then you're just going to do answer divided by 0.018. Then you can store that answer again, right? Then finally, you'll do 25,000 divided by the answer. What this does, it just reduces the risk of any syntax error or just any error in general. It makes things a lot easier. So doing all of that, I find that M, which is my repayment amount, is this. So to put things into context, that means that my quarterly repayments would have to be approximately $1,500 in order to pay off this loan in 5 years. So that's essentially the difference between using the recurrence relation or using the annuity formula for reducing balance loan questions. I think this will become a lot more clear when I do some examples of past external exam questions, which are going to be right at the bottom of all of these explanation type videos. And I think you'll start to definitely see a pattern of when to use recurrence relations for reducing balance loans and when to use the annuity formula. But pretty much in a nutshell, if it's long term, any long term situation, generally you're going to be using an annuity formula. Short term situations, you'll be using the recurrence relation. And sometimes it even says the words recurrence relation in the question, which is a dead giveaway that you're going to have to use the recurrence relation formula instead.